The palace of Zareth was the largest in the galaxy. Towers reached high into the clouds, spires carved from glowing crystal, reflecting light from the twin suns above. The streets below were silent, not because people were absent, but because fear hung in the air. Rumors of the human fighter had reached the palace weeks ago, and the name alone made soldiers tremble. Inside the grand hall, the alien emperor sat on his throne, his long fingers tapping the armrest. He was tall, with skin like polished bronze, and eyes sharp as obsidian. Around him, ministers and generals whispered nervously. "This human," said one general, his voice trembling slightly. "He has defeated 3 of our battalions already. Entire fleets have fallen under his strategy. Even our elite soldiers could not stop him." The emperor waved a hand dismissively. "Stories to frighten the weak," he said. "Humans are small, fragile. They lack the strength of our kind. Let them come. I will see this fighter myself." Yet, in a quiet corner of the palace, a small alien child watched the screens nervously. His skin was pale, almost silver, and his eyes a deep green, unlike the dark, coppery eyes of the court. He was quiet most of the time, hiding behind statues and curtains, observing, learning. The child's name was Kale. Kale's eyes fixed on the main holoscreen, where reports of the human fighter's last victory played in endless loops. The human had entered an alien city with only a dozen men and routed an army 3 times their size. He moved with speed and intelligence, using traps, feints, and tricks that no alien had ever seen. And yet, Kale felt something stir deep inside him. A memory he could not place, a warmth he had never known. "Kale," whispered a voice. One of the tutors, an older alien with long robes, leaned closer. "You should not watch this. It is dangerous. Humans are unpredictable. We do not know their ways." But Kale shook his head. He could not look away. His small hands clenched the edge of the console. His pendant, a tiny crystal hanging from a chain, began to glow faintly. It pulsed softly, as if responding to something near. Kyle did not understand why it reacted. Outside the palace, the gates opened with a low metallic groan. The human fighter walked in alone. There were no soldiers behind him. No war machines. Only the human. His presence caused a ripple through the air. Subtle, but undeniable. Their sensors recorded unusual readings. His heart rate, his energy signature, even the way he moved. All seemed impossible for a human. The human's armor was simple yet sturdy. A dark vest, reinforced at the shoulders, and boots worn from travel. His eyes scanned the palace gates carefully, calculating, always aware. He moved with confidence, but not arrogance. Every step was deliberate. Every breath measured. "Stop him!" shouted one palace captain, drawing a long energy blade. Dozens of guards stepped forward, weapons humming with deadly energy. The human smiled faintly, not mocking, but calm. The guards attacked together, their strikes precise, meant to overwhelm. The human moved as though he had seen it all before. He dodged the first strike, parried the second, and in a single motion disarmed 3 guards at once. No one was killed, yet the guards were on the floor, stunned, and struggling to regain balance. Kale's eyes widened. He had seen many warriors, many elite soldiers, but none moved like this. None had such control, such focus. The human did not fight with anger, nor with brute force. He fought with intelligence, strategy, precision. The palace trembled as the human advanced. Even the emperor's advisors were uneasy. "Impossible," whispered one. "No human should be able to move like that. No human should have such strength, such speed." Kael could not speak. His small hands trembled, his pendant glowing brighter. And then it happened. A memory flashed in his mind. a warm hand on his own, a voice that sounded like laughter and reassurance, a face he could not clearly see, but somehow, he knew it. The human stopped in the center of the main gate hall. He looked up at the palace balcony, where the emperor watched, his expression unreadable. The human bowed his head slightly, not a gesture of submission, but of respect. "Emperor," the human said, his voice calm but commanding, "I come for the child." A murmur ran through the palace. Whispers became gasps. Some generals stepped forward, confused. Others looked ready to attack. But Kale, standing behind the statues, felt his chest tighten. His heart began to race. The human's eyes met his, and Kale's world shifted. "Father?" Kale's voice rang out, trembling, high-pitched, but unmistakable. The word echoed through the palace halls. Every head turned. The court froze. Guards lowered their weapons. Ministers stared in shock. The emperor's jaw tightened, and his claws pressed against the armrests of his throne. Silence filled the palace. The child had spoken a word no one expected, a word that should have been impossible. The human looked at Kale, recognition in his eyes, and a faint, tired smile crossed his face. "Kale," he said softly, stepping closer. "It's been a long time." The emperor leaned forward, his voice cold and sharp. "Explain this. Who is this human? And why does my child call him father?" Kale trembled but did not look away. The pendant around his neck pulsed stronger, as if reacting to the presence of the human. He did not fully understand why he felt this connection, why his heart ached with a mixture of fear and relief, but he knew it was real. The human's gaze moved to the emperor. "I will explain everything," he said. "But first, I am here to protect my son." The palace guards murmured among themselves. Some thought the human must be insane to claim the emperor's child. Others, those who had studied the human fighter's victories, felt a chill of respect. This human was unlike any other. He had defeated armies alone. He had strategy that rivaled entire fleets. And now he claimed a child in the emperor's palace, and no one dared stop him. Thanks for watching. And like, subscribe down. This fun that, thank you will see. Kale's small hands gripped the edge of the railing. He wanted to run forward, to reach the man he recognized in his heart. But the child knew that this was only the beginning. Questions would come. Danger would come. But for the first time in his life, Kale felt hope. The human stepped closer to Kale, keeping his eyes on the emperor. His stance was calm, confident, but ready for anything. The palace air seemed heavier now, thick with tension. Everyone in the hall could feel it. Something monumental was happening. The emperor's claws clicked against the throne. "Human," he said slowly, "if what you claim is true, you dare challenge the honor of my family." The human smiled faintly, not with arrogance, but with quiet certainty. "I am not here to challenge," he said. "I am here to protect." Kale's eyes shone. He could see the truth in the human's expression. He could feel it in his chest. The man before him was not just a fighter. He was home. The palace remained frozen, every eye on the child and the human. Outside, the twin suns shone brightly, but inside, a new light had appeared, one that promised change, hope, and the beginning of an extraordinary story. Kale whispered again, barely audible, "Father." The palace of Zareth was still frozen in shock. Guards who had once been proud of their strength now hesitated, unsure whether to obey the emperor or follow the human who had just entered the grand hall. The whispers and murmurs of the court filled the air like a tense storm. The alien emperor leaned forward in his throne, his long fingers gripping the armrests so tightly that the polished bronze scratched under the pressure. "Explain yourself," the emperor demanded, his voice echoing through the marble hall. "Who is this human? And why does my child call him father?" The human fighter's expression remained calm. He took a careful step forward, not in fear, not in arrogance, but with the quiet confidence of someone who had survived countless battles across the galaxy. His eyes, sharp and focused, met the green eyes of the child. Kale's small hands were clenched into fists, trembling slightly. He could feel the warmth of the human's presence and the strange, undeniable connection pulsing through him. "I am his father," the human said simply. The words were calm, yet they carried a weight that silenced the entire hall. "I left Zerath many years ago, during the Great War. I never stopped searching for him." The Emperor's eyes narrowed, suspicion flashing like a blade. "You claim to be his father, and yet you have returned only now? Do you think the palace will welcome a human as part of the royal bloodline?" Kale took a small step forward. "It's true," he shouted, his voice trembling but firm. "I remember him. He taught me things. He saved me. He is my father." The court froze again. Alien nobles exchanged nervous glances. It was unheard of for a human to claim an alien child, let alone one of the Emperor's own. Some whispered that the child must be mistaken. Others felt a strange stirring of curiosity and even awe. The human had defeated entire armies. Yet here he was, standing in a palace of power, claiming a connection no one could deny. The Emperor's voice was sharp. "You speak of memories, child. How can you be certain? Humans are liars by nature, are they not?" Kale's pendant glowed faintly around his neck, pulsing softly as though responding to the human's presence. He held it up for the Emperor to see. The crystal's light shimmered brighter than before, filling the hall with a soft glow. Kale's voice shook but rang with certainty. "I know. I feel it in my heart. He is my father." The human moved closer to Kale, lowering his gaze to meet the child's. "I never wanted to leave you," he said softly. "Circumstances forced me away. But I have searched the stars, crossed galaxies, survived battles you cannot imagine, all to find you." The Emperor leaned back slightly, his face a mixture of confusion, anger, and something he had never experienced before: uncertainty. The child's recognition of the human had disrupted centuries of order in the palace. The generals murmured among themselves, their loyalty to the Emperor wavering in the face of a human's presence. One of the senior generals, a tall alien with emerald scales and piercing eyes, stepped forward. "Your Majesty," he said cautiously, "this human has proven himself on the battlefield. He has defeated our best soldiers, and yet he claims a connection to the child. Perhaps we should hear him out?" The Emperor's claws clicked sharply against the throne. "You dare question me? You dare suggest that a human has any right here?" The general bowed slightly. "I only speak of caution, my lord. This human is not like others. He is extraordinary. Apten. Apten. Forstain. Apten." Kale's small voice broke through the tension again. "He saved me once. He taught me courage. He taught me strategy. He never hurt me." One. The Emperor's expression darkened. "And yet, you call him father?" "Yes," Kale said firmly. "I remember him. I remember love." The human's eyes softened as he looked at Kale. He knelt slightly, bringing himself closer to the child's level. "I know it's hard to understand, Kale," he said. "You were hidden, raised apart to keep you safe, but I always knew you would recognize me when the time was right." Kale's eyes widened. "You knew?" The human nodded. "Yes. Your mother. She entrusted you to the palace. She knew I would return. She knew you would remember me when the time came." Whispers rippled through the court. The mention of the child's mother, a queen from a distant star, surprised everyone. Few had known that she had been part human herself, a fact hidden from the palace to protect the dynasty. The human fighter, standing in the center of the hall, was a living proof of this secret. The emperor's voice was low, dangerous. If this is true, if what you say is real, why have you waited so long to return? Why now? The human straightened. Because the galaxy has changed. Threats you cannot imagine are rising. I have fought battles far beyond your walls. I have learned, survived, and now, I am here to ensure my child's safety. Kale's pendant flared with light, brighter than ever before. It seemed to respond not only to the human's presence, but also to his words. The child felt a rush of energy, a certainty that no one else could understand. This human was more than a fighter. He was his protector, his parent, and a hero unlike anyone the galaxy had ever seen. The Emperor's guards shifted uneasily. Some whispered about rebellion. Others feared the human's reputation. No one had ever dared to challenge the Emperor so openly. And yet, here was a human, standing calmly, claiming the Emperor's child, and no one dared to strike. A young court scribe, barely more than Kale's age, whispered to a friend, "Do you see? The human does not strike, yet the palace listens. He does not fear. He does not beg. He simply is." The human turned his gaze toward the Emperor again. "I do not seek your throne," he said, quietly. "I do not seek your power. I only seek to protect the child. He is my son, and I will not allow anyone to harm him." Kale's voice rang out, stronger now. "I want him to stay. I want my father." The palace remained tense, silent, except for the child's declaration. The Emperor's face was unreadable. He had ruled for centuries, seen countless wars and betrayals. But this was something new. A human had entered his palace, claimed his child, and stood unchallenged, yet respectful. Minutes passed like hours. Then, slowly, the Emperor leaned back. His sharp gaze softened slightly, though suspicion remained. "Very well," he said carefully. "We will hear him. But know this, human, if you deceive me, if you lie about this child, the consequences will be severe." The human nodded. "I understand, and I have no reason to lie. I only want my son safe." Kale's small hands shook as he stepped forward. He did not hesitate. He ran toward the human, who bent down and caught him in his arms. The child's eyes filled with tears of relief, hope, and recognition. The palace had seen many things, but never this, a human holding an alien child, and the connection between them so clear that it could not be denied. Outside, the twin suns continued to shine brightly. But inside the palace, a new light had emerged. One of truth, hope, and the beginning of a bond that no force in the galaxy could break. The human gently set Kale down, keeping one hand on the child's shoulder. "You are safe now," he said. "I will not leave you again." Kale looked up at him, wide-eyed. "I knew you would come back. I always knew." The Emperor remained silent, his mind racing. The human's arrival had disrupted centuries of order, challenged traditions, and introduced a new power into the palace. He was unsure whether to see this as a threat or as a new opportunity. But one thing was certain. The child, the human, and the palace were now bound together, and the story of their future would unfold in ways no one could predict. Kale held the human's hand tightly, feeling strength, courage, and love radiating from him. For the first time in his life, the child felt truly safe. And for the first time in centuries, the palace sensed that something extraordinary had arrived. Not a conqueror, not a warrior, but a human who carried hope, strategy, and the undeniable spark of greatness. And so, the palace of Zherath waited, silent and tense, as the human fighter prepared to reveal the secrets of the past, the truth of Kale's origins, and the reason why the galaxy would never again underestimate humans.